This is going to continue my video reviews of the classic Saddleback bags. So if you watch any of my previous videos, I do make some pretty harsh statements about the quality of leather of Saddleback briefcases, and specifically the classic briefcase, the one that started everything. And some viewers have, I think, judged me to be overly harsh, and I wanted to take the opportunity to kind of justify why I felt this way. So I've started off reviewing the tank backpack in the dark coffee brown color to show what the older kind of Saddleback bags look like. So I wanted to show off one of the older models of the Saddleback classic briefcase. There are a couple older models, and I do own several of them, so as these videos go on, we will be making a journey further and further back in time to earlier and earlier back in Saddleback days. So this bag is the classic briefcase in the large size. The color of this specific bag is Chestnut, which was always billed for as the color for professionals. It's a color that kind of does well in a very corporate professional setting as compared to the older colors of tobacco, which was a very velvety tobacco, picked up a lot of scratches and patina, which was more for informal settings. Dark coffee brown was another one that would have fit very well in a formal setting. But the old Chestnut, I think, is the most beautiful old bag in terms of a professional looking bag, far better than the older dark coffee brown colors, which the dark coffee brown, I think, in a backpack like the tank worked incredibly well. In this briefcase, the Chestnut just seems to kind of work a lot better. So we'll start off with some of the older hardware that you see. So originally, the older Saddleback briefcases started off with these lobster class hardware rather than the dog leash collars that they eventually switched to. And this was made of very tough material. So at the time this came out, the impression was that this was made from stainless steel hardware. As come to light more recently that some of this older material was likely not stainless steel. And if you look at my previous video reviews where we talk about it, I'll show you where there is a welding mark on the larger O-ring, leading me to believe that this was not a stainless steel material. So it uses very similar designs. So it uses the exact same design influences where you have a buckle to adjust the length of the strap with multiple strap sizes, as well as almost the exact same design for the shoulder pads. The actual bag itself hasn't changed in design in essentially, this period of time. So this bag is probably close to 10 years old. It's actually closer to 7 to 8 years old, given the age of the markings and the materials used in this bag. But it has the exact same handle hardware, where it's the simple to access, though this O-ring here still gets in the way when you're trying to hold the bag and quickly getting a hold of it. It still gives you that very beautiful hand feel, and it uses that stitching right across the top to complete the grip. So you grip along that stitch line and gives you a place for you to rest your hand while you're holding the bag itself. So the older Saddleback, this is what's considered the original logo, did not have a logo on this front center piece here. So if you look here, where there's usually a script logo or Saddleback Leather Company logo, it's completely blank here. It's actually an older version of this bag. So this bag came out as the company was starting to grow. It was really the first iteration of its larger, more mass-produced volume of this bag. Before that, they used the two rivet, where it was basically just two rivets holding a center strap in place. This is the first use of some sort of medallion leather at the front, but without any marking. Along the two sides, you continue to have these leather straps that could be taken off as belts to further secure the bags if you would like. The hardware on the side of and the back of the bag hasn't really changed. It continues to have this O-ring, and kind of like I was talking before, from my email from Saddleback, it appears that if there is a break in that hardware, then likely it is not stainless steel material. So I think we can say with some level of confidence, given Saddleback told us that themselves, that this is not stainless steel hardware. But there's the center O-ring. There continues to be the 4 D-rings along the back, the 3 along each side here, the 2 side pockets that exist, and the back pocket. So as you move further back in Saddleback design, this back pocket actually disappears. There's a run of the original versions of these Saddlebacks that don't have this back magazine pocket. And then when developed, they were a little bit shorter, so they weren't of this height, and then eventually it was brought up to the higher height. So based on how this back pocket looks, it gives you an ability actually to date how old the Saddleback briefcase is. So I think this back pocket on this particular bag gives you a really good feel of exactly how the leather was meant to age. This is leather that's 10 years old. This is a bag that's been used very, very frequently. Just given how soft and floppy this bag is, you can tell that it's been used a lot. It's really been broken down. And you can see here that this leather has just built this beautiful quality, and along the front too. There's just an incredible, deep, beautiful color that you see of this leather. And it's not glossy or shiny like the newer versions of the Saddleback leather. It has this incredibly nice feel to it, this depth of quality to it, this beautiful sheen, and this beautiful kind of, they call it chestnut, but to me it looks more like a walnut color that is just classy and not overly red, not overly overbearing, but builds this beautiful just quality to it that looks like a bag that is meant to be in a professional setting and is clearly worth however much you paid for it. This pocket still suffers from the same issue that every other Saddleback pocket suffers from, which is that a sheet of paper is higher than this and gets wrinkled at the top. If you watch my previous reviews, this has been a constant criticism of this type of design of bag that I've had for a while, and the only group that I've seemed to have found that's gotten this right has been Kendall and Hyde. So the front inside piece is where you see the Saddleback leather logo. So this was the original placement of the logo before they put imprint of the blue, the old dog that Dave used to have. This was originally the location of the logo. I think over time the Saddleback brand started to kind of carry its own weight, and the brand itself was kind of, you know, a sense of pride for people who owned the bag. So they started to move the branding of the bag itself to the front, so you knew you had a Saddleback product and everyone else knew you had a Saddleback product. This came from a time when, you know, there was much less about the brand and much more about the quality of the bag you received. So they kept their logo nice and simple along the inside. You still got the kind of leather keychain here to hold it in place. If you look, this design of the keychain is also very different from the current design of keychains in Saddleback bags. So this is something that's also changed based on sourcing from their supplier as well. The inside of the bag really isn't that different. You still have these two pockets and the two side pockets for you to hold things. Nothing's really any different about that. Along the back, you continue to have a false pocket for you to hide things in. The inside of the bag in the material that was being used has changed a bit throughout the years. There was a period where they used that suede, which they're currently using on the bags originally. And then they went to the slick pigskin lining, the very smooth, very tugged pigskin, very similar to what Orlando uses. To me, for a bag that's going to be used and abused, this lining is the best lining to use because it is so resistant to scratches, stains, any type of damage. It stays nice and clean, while the suede can be damaged and can kind of, you know, look dirty at times. This black pigskin lining really doesn't and adds more versatility to the bag. You can see along the bag they continued it's from the beginning of the design, that metal bar that goes across to support the bag itself. You really don't see a lot of deviations from the original design. The one thing I really want you to focus on is basically how a Saddleback briefcase ages. This is a really old bag, and if you look here, you can see just along the bottom here how collapsible this leather is. You see it just kind of collapses on itself, and once the Saddleback's been used enough, all of these bags will really gain this characteristic. I have other bags with even more collapsibility where even the front is extremely soft and kind of just collapses itself into what seems like a puddle of leather, but this gives you a nice in-between as the bag starts to get used, where the front panel and the inside panel really haven't built that softness yet, but all the side panels, if you look, have really just become soft and easy to use and very pliable. Even these inside pockets don't stick out too much because they can easily collapse down. So this is what you have to look forward to as your bag ages, though I will say I have a hard time believing that the current color in Chestnut will age as beautifully as the older Chestnut did. I think they really hit a home run with this color originally, deviated a little bit from the original design of the Chestnut color, and unfortunately I think they've ended with a leather selection that appeals to the masses but doesn't appeal to leather aficionados, and that kind of candy coating is what has been really driving the price in the secondary market. these leather bags, even though they are being used, sometimes are worth as much, if not sometimes even more, than current brand new Saddleback briefcases. And it's purely because of the build quality, the history of the story that goes with the bag, how long it's been around, and it's become a bit of a collector's item. And the fact that there's been more value placed on the older leather that was originally used, and it's been given a higher value in the used market than the newer leather that's coming out. And I feel like that says something. It's the free market kind of showing how much they value the products over time. Now, that isn't to say Saddleback it hasn't been changing. They've started to switch their tobacco back. They're talking about switching a lot of their colors and a lot of the finishings on the leather back towards how it was done in the olden days and what originally brought this company to fame. So I really hope they continue with that and it translates over to their Chestnut group, because for now, the older Chestnut color I think is the best possible color you can buy for this type of briefcase. It is professional, it's beautiful, it looks good, the color ages incredibly well. It doesn't change in terms of its professional look, but it just kind of ages and builds patina, as you can kind of see here. And you get variations in the color of that chestnut depending on how often you use that specific piece of leather. And that kind of gradient of color is what builds the beauty to a leather bag, and that's why, you know, a bag that's 30 or 40 years old looks just as beautiful as the first day you bought it. So this is my video review of the old logo large classic briefcase in Chestnut.